All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Paul Cambio. I'm one of the committee members of the California Lawyers Association's Health and Wellness Committee, and we're committed to bringing diverse programming and programs from diverse speakers. And today's no exception. I'm happy to introduce Carmen Lee. She helps clients regain vitality, transcend limitations, and own their own divine presence. And her website is healthbeyondlimits.org. And we are giving credit for today's program. And so we'll be sending a certificate after the program. And we also have the question and answer box open. You may want to save your questions for the end to see if maybe it was answered along the way. But if we have time at the end of the program, we'll do some questions and answers. Other than that, Carmen, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Paul, for your introduction. I have been looking forward to be with you all today. And before I jump into the content, since we're all there's a big group here, I feel like let's just come together and do a quick minute centering practice so that we are more present with what is going to be shared in this space. So you feel comfortable to close your eyes or lower your gaze. And just start noticing, the feet on the floor and the chair, whatever surface that is supporting your buttocks. And also feeling the back against the surface supporting you. And just connecting with your body, because a lot of times we're really focused in our head. And so start breathing in through your nose, slow breath, 1, 2, 3, and allowing the breath to drop into the belly instead of the chest. Breathing down into the belly and exhaling, releasing any tension, to-dos, whatever the mind might be busy trying to remind you what needs to be done after this or what happened before. And let's take another breath into the belly, the lower belly, and exhaling. If you have been super stressed or anxious, you might want to take an inhale and then exhaling with a sigh. I believe we're all muted, or you guys are all muted. So it'll be kind of like inhale, slow breath, 1, 2, 3, and exhale. Inhaling and exhaling. And start imagining that there's this elevator shaft in the center of your head. And we're gently moving the attention from the center of our head behind our eyes, allowing this elevator to drop down in through our throats, in through our chest, in through our stomach, upper belly, down into our lower belly, into our hips, and allowing that to continue to go down through our legs, down to the feet, and go down into the ground, 2 feet, 4 feet, all the way down. And breathe up as if you are breathing the energy from below your feet and breathing up from into your feet, allowing your breath to flow up. Just make it up. Don't worry about if you're doing it right or wrong. And breathing that through your legs, your thighs, your buttocks, into your belly. And exhaling down through your legs again. We'll do it one more time. Inhaling through the feet, legs, thighs, buttocks, and exhaling down throughout buttocks, thighs, and legs. And when you feel ready, you can open your eyes or gently open your eyes if they were closed to come back to this space. So I'm going to start sharing the slide, and thank you for doing that with me. So today we are going to talk about recharge to take charge. And I want to let you know what we're going to do is that I'm going to go through some of the concepts, which I believe is pretty innovative. Not a whole lot of people know about it because we are talking about recharging as a way to tap into an aspects of you that you might not have considered and how to put that into context. And other than going through concepts and principles, I'm also going to go through a couple of exercises with you so that you can experience it. And so the whole idea is to bridging concepts and also allow it to be more experiential. And then you're welcome to type in questions along the way, and we have time, we'll address that at the end. So when I start researching on doing a specific topic, a webinar for you guys, this came up in terms of the different kind of stressors the lawyers are experiencing. And I'm curious of the list here, we are talking about, which ones, how many of these stress factors or challenges relate to you? Like how many of them, is it all of them, a few of them? Just type in a number in the chat if you feel like it. And when I saw this list, it reminds me of when I was a consultant early on in my first career, working as a consultant, and that pressure of billable hour was just really real for me in addition to the workload. So it's like I have to do work extra hours to meet the billable rate. And so I can really empathize. And then there's this high stake responsibilities, which I think is very unique to you, because the work that you do is really could be life and death, and there's no room for error, and which leads to, the perfectionism, the worry about, fear of failure. And thank you for engaging in telling me where you are in terms of, out of the 7, how many of them are you connecting with? And your clients are very diverse. I used to work with a very specific sector, and so my clients are orienting a certain way. But depending on your practice, your clients can be many different kinds of people, and so they all have different expectations. They orient themselves differently, and so that can lead to a lot of stress. And working with people, diverse group of people, because we are all having emotions, and we might come in with our own versions of stress. And we are meeting with clients, and I learned a new term through my research, vicarious trauma. To me, is really going back to how we are, if you are empathic or sensitive and you pick up on other people's emotions just by sitting and listening to them, not even talking about, winning the case or resolving something. And you can just sit there and you can just taking in things and you feel drained after talking to them if you're sensitive, which also leads to compassion fatigue. And that is really both taxing to the mind and also the emotional, and which affects our body. We all know that stress affects our body. And this thing about adversarial work environment, which I feel is also pretty unique. I came from an environment that people generally are working as a team, and I learned that, some of you, not all of you, hopefully, might have a very hierarchical structure, and colleagues could be competitive, let alone opposing counsels, and how the judges are, the work environment. And so what I want to say is I really feel for you, and I deeply, deeply hope that there are a lot of things that you can take away, and there are at least, if not more, all the practices that you can walk away and that will serve you for a long time. And what I think is unique is many people might have different kind of these stress factors, but I think is the combination of it is like not just working a lot of long hours, not just, having somebody who is hard to deal with. It's the combination factor that is making your work and life potentially more challenging. And I see a lot of you were talking about you can relate to majority of these stress factors. So thank you. And so one of the first exercise I want to walk you through is that when we start, you look at this image here, is this lawyer. I actually found this online and carrying this, I would just call it stress ball and carrying the weight. And when we feel there are different stress coming from different directions, we are pulled in different directions. We might be needing to pay attention to this client, that client, and then the billable rates, and maybe there is, a court proceeding tomorrow, and all of this pressure coming in, and our mind will be just flowing our attention and energy to different aspects. And it can be difficult to focus on one thing. And when we lose focus, and that affects our level of effectiveness. So what I would like you to experiment with me is that imagine one of the most toughest client or colleague just walking into the door, and you can see, my door is over there. Imagine that you're throwing your energy and your attention, looking at that person, imagining that person walking in. It could be a difficult judge, and you're just walking in. And you are just starting thinking about the last time you interact and all the things, and you're just throwing all your energy thinking about how you're going to really confront this person, and notice how your body feels. Does it feel empty? And you're welcome to type in some description of the word in terms of how you feel when you imagine that most challenging person walking, or even a difficult case, or just imagine the caseload that you have to deal with. Imagining that, how does that feel when you're thinking about all the things you're going in? What does it feel in the body? Is it a jittery feeling? Does it feel empty? Do you feel drained? Or there's just some of like a kind of shaking. Yeah, tight, tense in the shoulder. Maybe all of a sudden my butt just get tight. And then my shoulder just not living. Body awareness is very important. And so now I would like you to just drop that image and allowing yourself to just forget all of them and just direct all your attention back into your core, into your body. Forget who is walking in, and just bring all your energy and attention, focus back into your core. What I mean, your core is really your belly, your upper belly, lower belly, your chest, and imagining that you can recycle the energy, any attention and energy that you use to think about the situation and the stress factor and the difficult person, bring it all back into the center and just breathe into your belly. It's like almost like an accordion. If you are familiar with the musical instrument, just allow that instrument to come back, and you're gathering your energy back into your core, and breathe down into your belly and notice how you feel in your belly, in your body. Do you notice a difference? Breathe in your belly a couple of times, and with the intention that you can call all of your energy back, not just related to that particular person or that stressful situation, but let's gather all our energy back from the last 24 hours, regardless of the energy that we have expended to work on the computer, reading, discovery, or trying to come up with a rebuttal, getting ready for a case proceeding, whatever that is. Just direct your focus, gather all your energy back, and breathe down into your belly. And notice if there's a difference. And you're again welcome to type in the chat if you like to share, how does that feel from one to the other? And we can experiment again. Feeling in the body, does it open up more? Do you feel a little bit more solid, a little bit more centered, or maybe you can breathe more easily, and maybe your shoulder start to drop? And so that's one of the awareness that is available. And this is profound, because what we're going to talk about today is how do we manage our energy, and not just energy from the way that you have thought about it. It's really informing you that there are actually battery stations available if you choose to connect with that. And so thank you for sharing. Yeah, Carmen, we're establishing my basis. Yes, it's just really about very simple. And imagine that you're standing in the court, right? Or meeting with a difficult client, and you'll be just listening, and just start noticing that you start feeling your shoulder is tight, your neck is tight, and you cannot breathe, or we forgot to breathe. And then you just think, okay, I can just gather all the energy back. I don't need to throw all my energy and attention to that particular person. I can still listen, but as long as I gather my attention into my center, I get my energy back. And I can calm, and I can respond a lot better. So the exercise that we just went through is really about practicing how to gather your energy back. Because a lot of times when you start getting pulled in many directions because of so many things are happening in our work and personal life, then we actually disperse our energy. It's almost like we are discharging our energy. We are giving our clients, the cases, even strangers, could be the touch, anything. We are giving our energy. And the way to bring it back is you do have the power to summon all of that. So when you are Actually, I mean belly. When I say breathing down into your belly, is your lower belly, your abdomen. When I said, if that's what you were asking about, when we're breathing down into our belly, it is really your below your stomach, your lower belly, below the navel button. And that is important. Thank you for asking that, because we are activating different part of our nervous system when we breathe down into our lower belly, the lower abdomen. Because a lot of times when we are stressed, we tend to breathe in a shallow way, and that keep activating the fight or flight, which keep us to focus on what is urgent and what is causing us to stress. It just perpetuate itself. But when we deep down breathe it down into the abdomen, it really helps us to activate the rest and digest, so that we can start soothing our nervous system and become calmer. So going back to this slide, when we're able to gather our energy back by just calling all the energy back and focus back into our core, we are actually allowing us to be more focused. And so the way I can think about is, when we are dispersed our energy by being put in many directions, we are actually not as effective. But when we are more concentrating our energy just in our core, we are able to influence people and ourselves in a more effective manner. And one way I can think of it is kind of like the garden hose analogy. If you put a finger into your hose, and the water actually will shoot further away. Not that you are trying to send the water out, it's just by closing in, focusing on the flow of your attention. It's like the water. You're able to impact others and also support you, and you will feel energized. And so whether you imagine you're gathering energy back, or you just intentionally, I'm calling all my energy back in the last 24 hours. And with that practice, it will serve you, and you can start notice the difference. But it does take some practice. So because of your unique challenges, I say that you guys will call for a unique approach. And a lot of what I'm going to share with you, especially the practices, is based on the work of Dr. Sue Morter, and her work has touched over 120 some countries with all kinds of people from all walks of life. And it's really about connecting with the invisible anatomy. That is, in this diagram here, we're going to talk more about these layers of your energy field. How do you connect with that in your body to allow you to get recharged? And at the end of the day, it's not just about the stress, or you feel better or less, stressed or relaxed. It's really about helping you to increase your bandwidth so that you become more effective than you have ever before. And I have clients who would tell me that, wow, I didn't really see that coming. I've been struggling with, actually, I had a client who was struggling. She's a lawyer, and she was struggling with something for a while. And one day she was able to come up with an elegant solution that she kind of, that doesn't come from the part of me that I knew. And then that really helped her and her client. And also the speed and the impact. And again, if you practice this work in a consistent manner, you can see how fast you can see the results. You can feel better right away. And because you feel better, you're going to affect the people around you, whether it's your team member, whether it's a client, whether it's even somebody else in the courtroom that you don't quite care for. And it's amazing. And it's something you can apply in real time. We all have our de-stress. We can go exercise and eat healthy and all that. What I love about this work is that you can apply in real time while you're in a meeting, while you're, reading something, the legalese, I would just say, in the middle of it, you catch yourself. It's okay, let me practice some of these things. And the other thing I like about this approach is integrative. That means it is really focusing with the nervous system, and the nervous system affects different parts of the body, and definitely affect our brain, affect our heart, affect all the organs. So it's affecting the physical body, our emotional well-being, our mind, and our relationships. And also is our ability to connect with that life force, that spark within us. And this work is really about connecting with the electromagnetic energy field that I'll have some pictures to show you. But I want to let you know that why this is so important to know is that because our nervous system, which affects everything, affecting whether we can be calm or stressed and all that, a lot of things in our life, that electromagnetic energy field is actually creating the nervous system when we were embryo in our mother's womb. And that is huge because we're talking about dealing with our master system. if we want to really resolve root causes of anything that we're struggling with, whether it's work or personal related, we want to work with the master system so that we can have greater impact. So everything in life is energy. It's just whether we are familiar with it, it's not just about your energy level, whether you feel energized or you feel tired. The computer, the device you're using, is an energy. We are light we are light and compressed into form. And physical matters are just very dense energy. So it becomes like the mug that I'm holding right now, could be the mic I'm using, the lamp, the walls. Those are the more dense frequency. But in the human level, the brain waves is also frequency, a form of frequency. Most of us, when we are being pulled in many directions in our day-to-day life, are operating in the beta brainwave, which is the green zone, the second row over here. Because a lot of times we need to focus and do a lot of the thinking, and we need to stay alert to do what we're doing, and we are operating in the beta brainwaves. And ironically, I mentioned that some of the times where it's not really the harder we think, the harder we work, the more the solution will come. A lot of times is when we're able to navigate these other brainwaves, the alpha brainwaves, then we can become innovative and creative in our solution. I mentioned to you about that client who came up with an elegant solution when she started working with her energy bodies. And then there's the theta waves, which is your intuition. And so one of the things I read about is that, you guys, a lot of times will need to make quick decisions, and you might not have all the information to make the best decision. This is where I found intuition is really, really powerful, because if we can connect with the sensory nervous system in the body, you know what your yeses and nos are, not just based on facts, but based on information you may not even be cognitively, consciously aware of. And you can make the best decisions that have greater impact. And then down here, the delta waves is where a lot of healing happens, whether it's a physical, emotional, or mental healing. But, when we are really busy running on beta waves, a lot of us will be struggling with sleeping. And so the whole idea about increasing our bandwidth is that we are able to move up and down across the spectrum of these different wavelengths, if you will, different brain waves. When it's time to sleep, we can sleep. When it's time to work, we can work. When it's time to be creative and innovative, we know automatically, like our system already know which brain wave to tap into. And this last one here is the gamma waves. And this is where, with conscious practice, they have found a lot of the monks who have been meditating, long-term meditators, actually can cultivate the frequency that allow them to have this great awareness, like being able to tap into information that they have no way of knowing, and which allow also for them to have insights into situations and have ability to focus. And I promise you, we're not going to really talk about meditation too much today, but I'm just wanting to let you know that there is higher level, higher order of brain function we can achieve when we are able to navigate through the whole keyboard of our existence. And so we talk about the brain, we have to talk about the heart. So when I think about the heart, I think about emotions. So because we talk about everything is energy, our heart and our brain is just part of our energetic formulation. And emotions is also have different kind of flavor of emotions. And this chart is really about showing a wide range of emotions from, the lower frequency of emotions, the shame, guilt, empathy, grief, and fear. Fear links to anxiety. That's why I circle here. And then there's something more neutral, which is, being courageous and neutral and willing and being open. And then to higher function, that people are able to understand and reason really well, and that there's a certain level of love that is available, compassion and honoring of others, honoring the self, and being able to tap into deep joy and peace. The main thing to take away is that there are many different vibrational frequencies operating based on how we feel emotionally. And when we're hovering in the stress level, we are basically could be very busy and busy, but we might not be able to be super functioning. Just because of busy doesn't mean that we're very impactful, because we are not using all parts of our capacity. And when we're able to tap into the higher frequency, which is in this green and blue and purple zone, then we are actually being able to tap into the higher ability to perform without feeling stressed. A lot of times we think that so and so behave this way, or I have so many things happening, I will be stressed. There's no way around it. But when you're in this higher frequency level, you'll be able to perform so much more, which will mean that something that might used to take you 10 hours to do, all of a sudden it might take you 1 hour. And it's a real thing. I have seen that in my clients. And then there's extraordinary outcome that happens because you're able to tap into the information. So the whole idea is, how can we move from here, being anxious and maybe a little bit upset, down here to here? And because we're all human beings, things are going to happen. The idea is, how can we shift ourselves from down here, notice it, and do the practice, exercise, and move ourselves up there? The more often throughout the day we are in this area, the more often we can catch ourselves and do what we do to move us here, the more impactful and effective we will be. So this is a picture showing all parts of you. And when I said, tap into the parts of you that you might not be aware of, we are more than just a physical body. The physical body is the most dense version of us. We can feel it, we can touch it, but there is actually invisible anatomy outside of us. And you might be, for those who are sensitive, you might feel like somebody might be walking behind you and you might not even hear, but you feel something. Or you walk into a courtroom, you walk into a meeting room, you just feel the vibe, like something is off, you just know, but you don't know where, because you're actually tapping into your invisible anatomy. And so the way this works is that there's this universal energy flowing from the cosmos, from the universe, if you will, coming down into our central channel, and it's coming in down into our core, and then hitting below us to the earth, and then it comes back up through our feet into our belly, up into our chest, and then it cycles up like a donut shape, and it's 360 degrees. And the more we can enliven our central channel, the more we are able to tap into that invisible version of you. Why does that matter? Because your battery station, you have a battery station up above you and a battery station down below you, outside of your physical body. When you're able to breathe in certain way, in specific way that I'm going to guide you, you are starting to get yourself connect with that battery station. And so I'm going to walk you through an exercise in a moment to connect with that. But I also want to show you an image of what our energy field looks like when we are stressed, anxious, and feel like we're being pulled in many different directions. Our field gets distorted. All of a sudden, our perception is not as clear. And then we might get brain fog, and then we might run on adrenaline, and we might start, having some addictive pattern. One of the things that I found out through my research is that sometimes, people in high stress situations, chronically immersed in high stress situations, people might rely on substances, and that can actually distort our field and weaken our energy field. And then we might start saying something that we didn't want to a team member, or even to our boss, or to a judge, and causing big issues. And so what happens is, when our field is distorted, things outside of us also become more and more challenging. These, on the right side of the diagram, is when it's distorted. These little black lines are basically indicative of when there's energetic blocks, because something from somewhere, either from more current situation and also from long ago, that we haven't fully processed. The more of these black lines happening in our field that we haven't been able to clear it to support a more perfected flow of our energy field, the more wobble we get, the easier we get stressed. And so what I'm going to walk you through is process. And so let's take a couple of nice deep breaths in, because I just shared quite a bit with you. And we're going to just, for a moment, just take a couple of breaths into our belly, into our lower abdomen. And imagine now that, and you can soften your gaze, or lower your gaze, or close your eyes. Imagine that you are breathing up from below your feet. Imagine, just make it up. There's no right or wrong. Just imagine, you can imagine a big battery station or, earth, and just breathing up through your feet, into your legs, into your thighs, into your buttocks, into your lower belly. And hold the breath for a moment and exhaling up through your stomach, into your chest, your throat, into your neck and your face, your head, and shooting up above 2 feet, 4 feet above you, exhaling. And imagine that you're breathing in from the battery station above you, from the universe, cosmos, breathing down 4 feet into the crown, into the center of your head, down into your neck, into your chest, into your stomach, into your belly. Hold it for a moment and exhaling down through your hips, your thighs, your legs, your feet, down into the ground to 2 feet and all the way to the center of the earth. And the next thing I want you to do is try to squeeze. There's a muscle in the base of your pelvic bowl, as if you're going to the bathroom, peeing, that is, to be exact. In the middle of the stream, you need to stop the pee. What kind of muscle, what muscle would you tighten? And I want you to engage that muscle. Squeeze that muscle. Some of you might know it as Kegel muscle. Squeeze that muscle tightly and then relax by 50%. And that has the ability to stabilize you further so that your center is dropping deeper into the rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system. And now engaging that muscle, and we are breathing up again below from our feet into our legs, into our thighs, in our buttocks, into the lower abdomen. Hold the breath there, and then exhaling up through the stomach, the upper chest, into your throat, into your head, into the middle of your head, to your crown, and 2 feet, 4 feet above your crown. And then inhaling again from up above you into your head. Slow, gentle breath into your crown, into the middle of your head, into your throat, down into your chest, into your belly, and into your lower belly. Hold it, and then exhaling down through your thighs, through your legs, through your feet. And that's called the central channel breath. And what it does is start enlivening your electromagnetic energy field flowing outside of you, at least 3 feet around you in all directions. When you engage with that regularly, you will able to start moving your energy field from distorted manner, which you will know, because when you're stressed and feeling brain fog and just like too many things being pulled in many directions, can't do it all, and getting frustrated even, to start feeling better and calmer, like you got it, you can handle it. And there's a greater sense of hope and trust. And so in the next slide, it's more jumping into a more zooming in, if you will, from that distorted field into what it looks like. How does distortion come in, happen? A lot of us are aware that we have emotions and we have thoughts and all that. But believe it or not, there are these layers of our energy field that is corresponding to our mental body and the emotional body. And it is out here, this layer of red is related to the mental body. And then there's the emotional body, which is in the blue line. And what happened is, we're talking about, breathing in the central channel is allowing you to connect with the battery station, breathing in new energy coming in. We are designed to constantly being replenished, like this green arrow here. Is if we're breathing in, theoretically, ideally, if our energy field is in perfection, all these new energy coming in will get into our body and we will feel enlivened. And then, we'll keep going and going in this toric manner, like the donut shape, and we'll keep enlivening and feeling strong and feeling clear about our thinking and feeling calm and be able to handle the situations. Even seems like we're being pulled in 8 different directions. However, once we start over time, when we are having challenges with the work that we're doing, and maybe even something that happened 10 years ago that we haven't fully processed in the subconscious, things that we have not fully processed form this technical term, energetic gunk in our energy field, these black dots, if you will, and it distorts the field from flowing in its perfection. So the energy that we breathe in, we cannot get all the way into the body. We cannot get enlivened. We cannot get energized because it bounces right back because there's a block, there's a gap. We don't have the neural circuitry, the neural pathways to bridge the gap to allow that to dissolve, so to allow more energy to flow in. So what I'm going to do is that walk you through an exercise where we are going to clear some of these blocks. And this is going to work with your sensory nervous system. When we are too much in our head, thinking, working on the beta waves a lot, not tapping into other brain waves, we can be disconnected with our body so much. And so I invite you right now to think about a situation, a case, a person that you are struggling with emotionally. Like the moment you think of this person, you start feeling contracted. It could be a judge who is unreasonable. It could be a team member who is not performing. And it could be the opposing counsel. It might even be a spouse or family, a relative. It doesn't matter. Somebody, just one person, pick one. And think about this last interaction, what is causing you to feel stressed, anxious about, and maybe whenever you talk to this particular person, a team member, you're just feeling drained because this person just keep complaining, whatever. And just pick that one situation and notice, where do you feel that in the body when you are thinking this particular person? And so maybe you are feeling everywhere. Maybe your stomach start getting tight, maybe the shoulder starting to ache, but pick the place that is calling you the most. And I'd like you right now to gently, if you can put your hand there, if it's accessible, put your hand there. That is establishing your connection with your sensory nervous system. Hey, body, thank you for telling me this is how it's manifested in my body. And I'm going to build circuits, build neural pathways to help dissolve that. So what I would like you to do is gently hug that particular area. You can put your hand there and you can start squeeze it a little bit, hug that area. And we're going to engage in the central channel breath. So you are breathing down again from below your feet and breathing through your feet, your legs, to your thighs, into your belly, while you're hugging that particular area, the body parts that is calling your attention. And then you hold your breath in the belly and then exhaling your breath up through your upper torso, through your chest, through your throat, through your head, crown, up above you, 2 feet, 4 feet above you. And then breathing in from 4 feet above you, into your head, into your throat, into your chest, into your upper belly, and down into lower belly. Hold the breath for a moment and exhaling, allowing the breath and the energy to flood it down through your legs to your feet. And the next time when we're breathing up from below your feet, I'd like you to imagine that you're able to route some energy and breath into that particular body part that was calling your attention when you think of that emotionally charged situation. And so you're breathing down from below your breath, getting charged up from the battery below you, breathing up through your feet, your legs, your thighs, into your buttocks, into your belly, and hug wherever that body part, and route the breath into that area. And when you exhale, exhaling up through your upper belly, through your chest, through your throat, middle of your head to your crown, 2 feet, 4 feet above you. Again, and if you can remember, tighten the cable muscle. Breathing from up above you, into your crown, into your head, into your throat, into your chest, into your belly. Hold it for a moment and exhaling down. And so just relax right now. And maybe you want to shake your body loose a little bit, turn your body to one side and the other side. And I'd like to see if you notice a difference. You're welcome to type in the chat if you like. And so by doing that, thank you for your share, very relaxing and easing the pain. Yes. So these things are really in real time. It's the matter of catching it and doing it. at the moment, and it doesn't need to take long. Sure, you want to go meditate, go into a retreat, or go have a spa, get some massage, go take a run, whatever. But these things are, you can do it in real time. And so that's what I love about this work, because for professionals like you guys with such demands, you guys need some really great tools. And there are ways that we do this sometimes, really focusing in our brain. I know for me, I had a background that was really mental. And so I would do it like really mechanically. It's like she wanted to do it, I'm just breathing up and down. But there's something about our heart when we're able to conjure up some loving frequency. Remember, we're talking about the frequency of love up here will really help us into getting into the peak performance, be more effective when we are able to connect with some, instead of thinking about that person or situation that is agitating us, start practicing with, oh, let me remember, maybe it's my dog, maybe it's your loved one, a family member, or maybe it's a sunset, whatever. Remember whatever that is your love generator, your another battery. And if you feel that love while you're engaging that, you'll be even more powerful. Because, and this is, this diagram is coming from HeartMath Institute. They have been around for decades, and they study the effects and the power of our hearts. And, you think about the devices or technology, how the doctors have EKG and EEG to diagnose, really to see where things are. And they're using a different way to study the electromagnetic field of human. And I show you the electromagnetic field, but the strongest part of your body, more so than the brain, is coming from our heart, because we're all vibrating at different frequency. Different part of the organs is vibrating, but the heart has the strongest electromagnetic field, which means when you're able to harness, connect with the frequency of love, how it feels to be loved, or think of something that you really love or enjoy, and you do engage in the exercise, you'll be profound. The other thing that I want to impress upon you is that one thing I promise in my promotion, in the advertisement for this webinar, is how can we influence other people and expand our impact. First of all, we have to get our ducks in a row. So we have to be coherent within ourselves before we go affect other people. And so one way is that, remember in the beginning, I showed you about getting all our energy back. That is one version of the heart coherence breath. So I'm going to walk you through an exercise to help you connect with the coherent heart frequency. So what we're going to do is your chest, your middle of the chest is actually connected with a heart energy center. It's more than your physical heart. It does so many more things, but it is connecting with the love frequency. And so if you have been too much in the brain, you're welcome to put your hand on your heart. And just take a couple of nice deep breaths just to connect with your body. And we want to, breathing in, imagining you are gathering your frequency, your energy back from all directions, coming back into your heart. And breathing that in slowly and gently and softening your system, your body. And exhaling in all directions, 360 degrees above you, below you, left or right, in front of you, behind you. And breathing in from all directions, allowing that to come into your chest, into your heart energy center. And exhaling in all directions. And this time, I'd like you to breathe in, allowing the breath entering into your lower abdomen. And then your upper abdomen, allowing the breath to flow up to your chest. So it's filling up your lower upper abdomen and then your chest. And now exhaling in all directions. And breathing in from all directions, filling up your lower belly first, and then your upper belly, and then up through your chest. Breathing in as much, and take another sip, breathing in, and hold it for a moment, and exhaling. And with this heart coherence breath, you are start not only perfecting your energy field, you are strengthening your heart energy frequency. What that also means is that when your electromagnetic field is not wobbly, distorted, and more perfected, you might not even need to say a thing, and people start behaving differently. And I'm not sharing this as a theory. I'm talking to you from personal experience and also how client has told me. I have worked with a CEO of a startup consulting firm in the Midwest, and he was having some issues with his team members. And it's a small firm; it was like 4 or 5 people, and he wanted me to do some work. And so and those team members did not know I was doing work for them, but I connected with the CEO. And so I was doing this work to energize my system, allow my electromagnetic energy field to be so vibrant that my frequency can touch somebody in the Midwest. And so I did an energetic transmission with them, with the CEO permission. And the next day he called me. He was so excited. And he said, I don't know what you were doing, but I have had the most productive team member meeting ever. The 2 person who have been like really locking horns with each other, they start opening up and we were able to resolve issues. He was so excited. And that is also the same CEO. When we did some deeper work together, he was able to resolve, personal marriage issues that he hadn't been, and his business got better and better. And so on a personal level, when you are, whether you're in a courtroom or you're in a boardroom, you're sitting down with your boss or have a personal meeting with a judge that you don't care for, when you start knowing that, you start feeling a little bit contracted and you start breathing in that manner, not to try to change somebody. And I want to be very careful about that. It's really about, let me strengthen my heart field so that I can be of service to other. When you're coming from that, miracles happen. And I have many more stories I can tell you. And so that's why the key message here is that first is the heart coherence breath. And we want to breathe down into our belly before we feel the chest, is because when you feel the core, your lower belly, upper belly, and your chest, you're strengthening, putting more oxygen in your body first. The other is you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest. So it's really allow your fight or flight to be not running so excited, which will allow you to think better and perform better. The other thing is really about animating your energy field. So it serves a lot of purpose. So this is continuing with the HeartMath research. Again, they have been doing researches for, 30, 45, 50 years even probably. You can go online and find them. And so the first picture, the red one, the top one, is showing that when we're anxious and worried, our heart rate is just gonna go chaotic, which really impairs our performance. But when we are able to come from a coherent state, not just a coherent heart, but like the mind-heart connection through these practices that I share with you today, you automatically start noticing more positive things that you weren't able to see before. And also then you start noticing like maybe a little bit more optimistic, and you start saying hello, start smiling a little bit more, and your performance start to improve. And also then you come up with ingenious solutions that not because you were trying to think for 10 hours, but just something come to you while you're walking or while you exercise, while you're cooking or talking to your spouse. It just comes to you. That's how intuition happens. But it does require us to enliven our nervous system. So what we have talked about today is Quadrant 2. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I don't see you guys, so I don't know how many of you raise your hands. You can engage with me in the chat. But in Covey's work has served me so well over the years, even when I changed my career. Oh, I see a thumbs up. Yeah. So what we are talking about today is really about Quadrant 2. And Quadrant 2 is about things that might not seem very urgent, but important because it has huge impact now and forever for the rest of our career. But a lot of us put this aside thinking we don't have time for it, or we don't have the resource for it, or money, or whatever. We put that aside because there's something more urgent. Our nervous system tend to run on fight or flight naturally because we want to survive. But when you are operating in all directions, being pulled in more directions, more likely you're already running on adrenaline, maybe adrenaline fatigue in the fight or flight. You are orienting yourself more, looking out for danger, what is urgent. And what I love about Covey is there's urgent and important things, in quadrant 1, but they're urgent and not important things. A lot of the distractions are urgent, seemingly important, but they truly are not. But it does take discernment for us to be in certain nervous system functioning to be able to discern that, so that we don't get immersed in these noisy stuff that seem very urgent, but actually is not serving us. Because way back when I was immersed with this work, a lot of people spending a lot of time in quadrant 1 and 3, they have no time for quadrant 2 because they have no time. And so the whole idea is when we are able to regulate our nervous system, we're able to reprioritize our time, our resources, money, people, staff, our team members, so that we can do something more. And I love about this word regulation. That just seems so frivolous, you know. And I swear, when I was preparing for this webinar, all of a sudden it jumped out at me. Recreation means recreation. If we want to recreate something new, recharge ourselves, to be innovative, we need to spend more time on quadrant 2. And I've seen how it has served me. And, you know, we don't need to talk about quadrant 4 a lot because it's just time waster. And so when we zoom in onto quadrant 2, something that we actually talked about in Covey's book, when he talked about sharpening our saw, it is a form of recharging. And this diagram is courtesy to franklincovey.com. And it's exactly what we're talking about. How do we integrate body, mind, heart, and spirit? A lot of us would be like, oh, you know, I'm exercising, you know, it's stress, I'm eating healthier, or I'm hanging out with friends, I feel better, or I talk to a therapist, you know, whatever. Or I'm doing some creative writing, you know, that is engaging with me. Or I go to church, you know, do some inspirational reading from sacred texts, whatever. We all have different things, but we put them in different buckets. And what I love about this work is integrating all of that. Today, through the exercise, I actually ask you to pay attention to your body so that you allow the sensory nervous system, your body, talk to you. You direct your mind to pay attention to your body so that you can start build new neural circuits to enliven your sensory nervous system so that you start feeling more relaxed, affecting your emotions, which affects your heart. And so spirit is can be about going to church. If you have, you know, some spiritual practices, it could be meditation. But what I would say, spirit is what actually cause you to wake up in the morning. What are you excited? What is uplifting to you? I mentioned to clients sometimes, like, do you ever get playful? And there's a lot of us who forgot how to play. And being playful, do whatever that uplifts us, is actually very important to put us in the other brainwaves. And from what we have done today, if you look at the word spirit, Latin word spirit actually means breath. So when you are working with your breath, you are working with spirit, your spirits, and directing your mind and pay attention to your body and move your breath and supporting all levels of your functioning. That's what we're doing today. And so, and I see that we have 5 minutes left. And so I want to complete this, sharing with you some information. A lot of times we go into webinar or read a book, you know, or to conferences, and we got inspired and, you know, and it's like, oh yeah, this is so cool. I noticed a difference and I'm just going to practice that. And life has a way to distract us. And so it's like, yeah, I meant to practice that 3 times a day, hypothetically speaking. And then all of a sudden we forgot, oh, I'm going to do it once a week. And like 2 weeks later, we totally forgot. And it's one thing is because the more we run on the fight or flight, which I know a lot of you have said you do, the more we respond to emergency and urgent. And there's not a container, a consistent forum for you to come back to rejuvenate yourself. And that's what a whole person coach like me is there for, is to hold you accountable, to hold you in this space so that you can come back to continue to elevate your game. And the work affects all areas of your life, not just being more effective in your work. It affects your personal health and your relationships and all that. But I also want to give you a couple of things so that you can continue with the momentum. One is a heart meditation, because I mentioned how important to engage with that heart coherence is. If you click on the QR code, it is available for you to download that. And there's on the right side, there's a QR code that you can engage with me for a 30-minute consultation. And you can come to me, asking questions related to what we talk about because we're running out of time. And also, usually what I do in free consultation is have clients come in with, okay, what are some, your top 2-3 concerns? People think they have problems over here, there, and they're just seeing them as separate buckets. And what I have noticed is that experts like me is there to help you see the commonality. And when you address this commonality, all these other things start falling into place and you start feeling better and you start noticing things are happening better and better for you. And you are no longer need to rush into this fight or flight. And then you're walking away with some tentative suggestions on the next steps. So this is what I offer you today. And we have 3 minutes remaining. So if there are any questions, and I'm happy to engage with you. But let's actually do a couple of nice deep breaths in. Maybe for me as well as for you, because I've been talking for the last hour. And so let's just start breathing into our belly a couple of times so that we are more in our body. Engaging with that foundation of us, that all is well. Everything that we need is here for us. We just need to open our energy field, invisible anatomy, and clear any interference. And thank you all for being here. Thank you for engaging with me in the chat because I like to engage with people.
So Carmen, we did have one question in the question and answer, and it said, any easy tips to quickly calm yourself before a call will be stressful?
Yeah, so if you anticipate that stressful call, there are 2 ways, multiple ways, everything we talked about. So you think about the call, you're already feeling it. And so you notice, where is it calling your attention? If you're feeling it here, tightness, and you start breathing in to that area and go through the central channel and then hug it area. But the fastest way is just imagine that, call your energy back, because the moment you start noticing, anticipating that call is going to be stressful, you're already dispersing your energy out there. And so just gathering back and maybe even engage in a heart coherence breath along the way, meaning as you call all your energy back, and focus on breathing down into your belly and then feeling your breath up into your chest and then exhaling. And you can just do it. Give yourself 1 minute. 1 minute of conscious breath work is going to be tremendous in setting up the tone. And it can also affect how the other person on the other end of the line show up for you.
All right. I think that's it. I just wanted to remind everybody we'll be sending a PDF of the slides. So some people didn't have access to a QR code reader, so you should be able to get them off the slides. And I just want to thank Carmen again for such a wonderful presentation. I think if you look at some of the comments, there's a lot of hearts, a lot of claps, a lot of thumbs up, and a lot of people that really didn't know what to expect, but really, really enjoyed your presentation. So thank you once again, Carmen.
My great pleasure. It's been fun with you. And contact me if you have any questions. Namaste.
Namaste.